Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their natal Pluto in the fourth house of home and family. And I have been enjoying making these natal Pluto in the house videos because it seems like, as can be expected, anything scorpionic, whether it be the moon in Scorpio, which I think is the video thus far that I have the most views with altogether, or if it's Pluto, which is the ruler of Scorpio, in a particular house, people are obsessed, with their placement of Pluto if they are aware of astrology. And this is for good reason because I have read somewhere that wherever your Pluto is in your chart, this is the area of greatest transformation for you in your life, because Pluto is an agent of transformation. You could even call it your alchemy. And yet there's like this very strong, fierce influence that it wields, and that is the kind of dark light contrast that it presents in whatever house it's in. Now, in the fourth house, we're talking about the house of home and family. Now, when I went to look up information about this, I finally found a recent mention of the fourth house being the father. They said, and I wish I could remember what site it was because I looked at several sites, but they were saying that modern astrologers consider the fourth house to be connected to the father. And I just don't get it. I really don't. This is the house of home and family. It's connected to Cancer. Cancer is a sign of the mother. It just makes perfect sense for it to be more of a feminine, maternal thing. But anyway, this is home base. This is your roots. So this is going to be the atmosphere in your home, your childhood as a whole. And so one of the things that this can mean is that you grew up in a home with a very intense atmosphere. When they say the tension is so thick, you can cut it with a knife. That tension may be all the unresolved issues of your parents that they do not bring out. And indeed, Pluto is associated with secrecy. And this is why Scorpios have this reputation of being mysterious and downright secretive, not wanting to give up or maybe share their vulnerability with others, because they want to create this illusion that they are all powerful. Pluto is associated with power. So that's another aspect of this atmosphere within your home. Growing up, there may have been unspoken things or secrets kind of floating around. And by the way, this may not be something that you personally know about, but one or both of your parents may have their own skeletons in the closet that they bring to that environment, and that I would say adversely affect the vibe or the aura of the household. And so it can kind of feel like this sense of like, something is going on, but you don't know what it is. And there could be like things going on within that family that you are not privy to, but are still happening. One thing I didn't see about is sexuality, and sex is connected to Pluto, especially, or some sort of abuse. So I do believe that sexual abuse or other types of abuse in some cases. Now, if you have Mars in this house as well, and if Mars and Pluto are in conjunction, that's almost a done deal, that you're going to have, that it's going to be an atmosphere with, it could be a brutality, in the worst case scenario. But in any case, this can be an atmosphere of control. And that can lead to you having power struggles with one or both of your parents. Now, when this one site was talking about the father being the one that was the intimidating parent, they said he might have been controlling, demanding, and you might have been afraid of him. So if we're going to go with this premise that the fourth house is the father, then I'm going to let you know about that. But definitely the mother could be. The moon rules the fourth house, and therefore, for instance, if you have your moon in conjunction with Pluto, that's another sign of like the smothering mother, the mother who is obsessive as a parent, and the child doesn't feel like they have their own space to breathe. And so that might be also the case, is that the mother is the one doing this, being demanding. So the thing is that there can be manipulation, psychological manipulation. Pluto is associated with psychology, and the fourth house is as well, because it's going to be your early years, your formative years. So, or we would call it your past, and that can. Oftentimes, when you think about somebody that goes to a therapist, they often talk about their childhood, because that tends to be where these problems develop. In some cases, the parent might be not necessarily destructive in, that malicious sense of the word, but they might be overprotective. And again, the parent may be reacting from their own traumas and anticipating them occurring to their child because it happened to them at a certain age. So you think about, if, let's say, a mother has been sexually abused and she has a child, but especially a daughter, and her daughter gets to the age where the mother was, when she was sexually abused, that mother might start getting nervous. She might fear that, she might even start having flashbacks about what happened to her, and she becomes very controlling of the daughter. Now, the daughter might not know what is going on, and she perceives it as the mother trying to stop her from having fun. And so there can be that strange misunderstanding. Not, the daughter not realizing the mother really does love her and is really trying to protect her from the same fate that befell the mother. So, being that mama bear, I was going to say maybe like a mama's scorpion or something, right? Think of Scorpio. The family may be a source of transformation. Now, transformation can come from trauma, so it's not necessarily this warm and fuzzy thing, but it still is transformative. And they have that saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." I'm sure there are some people that find comfort in that saying. I don't know. That seems pretty intense. Pretty intense. Sometimes, because the home base represents security, Pluto can indicate, just like complete devastation. So sometimes the child experiences the family losing their home. Let's say that there's a bankruptcy or something, and then there's that attendant shame. that comes about when there are financial difficulties. And so then the parent might say, don't tell anybody that we lost our home, so there might be like that family secret that has to do with money, related to losing that home base. Now that can obviously affect you in adulthood. And I didn't see this, but I would imagine that because Pluto can indicate obsession, there might be some people who are obsessed with owning a home because maybe they lost their home as a child due to some financial calamity or what have you. And that becomes an obsession to the adult who is overreactive about that past memory. So, what I wrote down here or typed out based upon what I read was secrecy within the family of origin. Parents' shame may permeate the atmosphere. And I mentioned that, but that can shape you because, I was really fascinated. When I was younger, I used to read a lot about adult children of alcoholics. And even though I didn't experience that myself, I know people who have, and I wanted to understand them better as adults because, I could see certain behavioral traits in them that I felt were undermining them. And I wanted to just, understand where they were coming from more. And one of the things they talk about is shame. And, that these people who have these addictions, that a lot of times they are very shame bound. James Bradshaw was a psychologist. I think he was a psychologist, but he spoke on family dynamics and shame a lot. And I remember him because he would do lectures on PBS. Some of you might remember him from the 80s. That was, his heyday. And I remember one time he said that the family is a cult. And I always thought that was hilarious because when, there is that dysfunctional, toxic bond, it can feel like a cult because when the child tries to individuate and become their own person, that can be when all hell breaks loose. And in this case, with Pluto in the fourth house, you may have experienced when you became a teenager that was when the power struggles with your parents or a particular parent got more intense. And that was one of the things I saw here. And I think I think that's pretty true in general. In the parent-child dynamic, that the adolescence is that time because that's when the child begins to formulate their own opinions and all that. When they're younger, they tend to be more, worshiping their parents, just believing that their parents have all the answers. And then they get a little bit older, they can see more of the parents' humanness. And but they also are branching out on their own. It's developmentally appropriate. But when you have a parent who is very in need of being in control, they perceive this independence as a threat, and that is how come they react in kind with kind of tyrannical approach sometimes, and all of that. And a healthy parent is going to rejoice and encourage the independence of their child. They might feel a little bit wistful, like, oh, my child is growing up, they don't need me. I think that that's normal, but they're going to overall have this happiness that the child is, or it's not really a child anymore, but the young the teenager, or if it's a young adult, really is starting to spread their wings. that is a healthy reaction to one's offspring maturing. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Oh, one thing I didn't say, which is I should have said at the beginning, is that a traumatic event may have occurred that shocked you and shaped you. And I believe that I think I put that phrase shaped you. I might have just been rephrasing it, but I really think that it can kind of maybe even define you, what this is. And, who knows? Maybe it took place before you were even born, like the death of a sibling. And they were alluding to the death of a family member, and I said the aftermath as well. I didn't see them say anything about sibling, but that could certainly be the case, where the parents are mourning the death of another child, and you come along. Now, guilt, they mentioned guilt associated with this house, and I can totally see that, because it might be coming from many different directions, whether it's, again, wanting to be an individual and that not being okay by the controlling parent, wanting to find out more information. You may have a parent that is very secretive and you want to know more about them, and you try to ask them questions and they almost treat you like you're doing something wrong. And that kind of feeling is really, uncomfortable, because a lot of times children love their parents and they just want to know more about them. And some parents are very secretive about their past, and they really do not open up to their own children. And there's that kind of divide there. And I think that's really tragic for that parent, because, and I say this also to people with prominent Scorpio in general, because that lack of trust and ability to open up to others creates a vicious cycle where the other person really doesn't get a chance to know them, fully. And if that parent went through a traumatic experience and shared that with their child would bond more with the parent and say, oh, okay, that's why they're so overprotective of me, because of what happened to them. Oh, I get it. They're really not trying to ruin my life. They really are actually trying to protect me. So these kinds of things can create these, what kind of word would I use? The sense of alienation, which is unfortunate. And then the other thing can be, and no, I said that. I said the death of a family member and the aftermath. That shapes you. That might be the traumatic event, or the abandonment, which is like a death if a parent just walks out. And sometimes it's not the father, sometimes it's the mother who walks out. I was just reading this book about this woman who became an interrupter of gang violence, and her mother walked out on her. She didn't do it maliciously, but she left the family when this woman was like 5 years old, and this woman became a heroin addict. So it can just show you how abandonment can really, really traumatize a child, especially when they're that young and they just don't understand what is going on. They may blame themselves. And this is a placement where there can be a lot of guilt. And, it's possible that the parent who is trying to control uses guilt as a tool of manipulation. Being in a water house, there's always the potential for manipulation. You're sign Scorpio rules the eighth house, which is another water house that deals with one's inner psyche, and the shadow self, those uncomfortable emotions. This is the kind of the foundation of what shapes you, the beginning of that psychological journey. And so, needless to say, this is a very intense placement, but again, very transformative. So, this can give you an understanding of psychology based upon your own experiences for sure. And that can help you maybe even in the type of work that you do later. Pluto can be the healer, and you can help others heal from their past, I suppose. I mean, I think that that's, you know, obvious that could be something you could even parlay into a career at some point. So I hope that you enjoyed this and resonate with it. And this is the type of work that I do when I do natal chart interpretations. I really love this aspect, even more than predictive astrology. And some people really love predictive astrology. We just all are different in what it is that we resonate with, gravitate towards, just really are fascinated by. So if you would like a personal reading, please check out my different offerings. I have the link below for that. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.